of us will link again. That's the important part. Hazel was a wonderful person. She loved her home. She absolutely loved her family. And that's part of why most of us never saw her very often. But she came out for Carol. The one time I remember seeing her was when Carol was singing in the Glee Club, and Mom and Dad came down to watch Carol sing. They were always there for each and every one of their youngsters. She enjoyed reading mysteries. Carol would come by on Monday night to crafts, and she'd pick up a book and a mystery or two, and she'd say, "Do you think Mommy would like this one?" And home would go that mystery. And I'm sure Mommy read it, because it came back a couple days later. I don't know that there's too many books in our library that Mommy didn't get. It took 3 or 4 a week. She was an avid reader. She liked working puzzles, word search, playing pogo games on the computer. She was computer savvy. Playing cards, often invited neighbors in to play cards with she and Carol. They loved to play cards. Carol's a whiz at cards. If you don't know it, figure it out later sometime. And then watching comedies on television. I think that's most of us, because most of television isn't worth watching anymore. Oh, a little bit of no. Hazel has 2 living brothers and 2 living sisters. And through Carol, we met Aunt Joan. So on the internet, I said to Aunt Joan, we were going to do this. So Aunt Joan sent me a note for the family. And Aunt Joan says, "Where can I begin to describe my oldest sister, whom I've always known as Gussie?" As we said before, her middle name was Augusta, after her paternal grandmother. Gussie was 14 years older than me, and she was a combination sister and mother. I can remember as a small child, I went into her room, took a great big bottle of cold cream, and smeared it over the furniture and her clothes and everywhere. But she was very calm about the whole thing, taking into perspective that I was young to realize what I had really done. Gussie was an avid reader, and to start, I remember her climbing trees in our yard to get away from the 5 siblings in order to read, sitting in a tree. How many of you with brothers and sisters have gone up the tree to read? I know one over here. She always talks about hiding in the tree to get away from the kids. So that was a good thing to do. Hazel was one of the original Rosie the Riveters. During World War II, she went to work at Quonset Point Naval Base in Rhode Island, building submarines. It's a good thing the rivets held. Gussie met the love of her life, Mr. Ted, and got married on what was Joan's 6th birthday in November of 1945. I love to tease them through the years and tell them they really did forget to buy me a birthday present that year. Gussie and Ted went down to Valparaiso, Florida, to an Army base where Ted was stationed at the time, and after he finished his Army duties, they went back to Riverside with a beautiful baby girl, and born in 1947, named Meryl. My first niece, my parents' first grandchild. Meryl passed away at about 43 years old, so Hazel's had some rough times in her life. The years went by, and Gussie and Ted added 6 more kids. Life is not always easy, but when my sister got lemons, she made the sweetest lemonade you'd ever drink. I truly believe her calm manner and great attitude got her through the health issues and the loss of her first child. She loved all her kids so much and always tried to do the best for each of them. When our mother died, the 4 daughters took turns sleeping at the house to give Dad a break. Gussie never missed a night. And even though Dad said he was fine, Gussie showed up to sleep. And she had young ones at home, so Ted took care of those. We had all asked him how he was, and he would say he was fine, but she would go anyway. She also lent me an awfully wonderful hand when my husband was so sick, and made sure I got to the hospital to visit with him as often as I could. And she loved her special angel, Carol. As most of you know, Carol was born on Christmas, and Gussie he always said, it's the very best Christmas present she ever had. And that's hard to top. She fought a good fight. Whenever I asked her how she was, she'd always say, tomorrow I'll be a speck better. Because he didn't have too much make of it, but she loved to have company. She didn't love to go out. She liked our house, she loved her family, and always made you feel welcome when you went in her home. She loved all her family, all her parents, her siblings, her spouse, and her children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren. I always understood, she always had the understanding that each of us was unique. I'm saddened that she's gone, but I will happy to meet her at the end of the journey here on earth. Until we meet again, Big Sis, I love you. Oops. Oh, just a few words to sum her up. She had a gift to know that everyone is different, and she could always consider that when she dealt with them. What a wonderful philosophy for all of us to pick up, that each of us are different. Each of us have different drummers. Some of our drummers go kind of slow nowadays, but some of our drummers are rarely beating the band. So we need to remember as we speak to each other that because the drum is different doesn't make us less of a friend.